My name is Dora. I'm standing in the middle of a church fellowship hall filled with 200 people, the air thick with tension. My father, Mr. Thompson, is standing beside me on the stage, his face turning paler by the second. I look out at the crowd, and I can see the shock and disbelief on their faces. This is the moment I've been waiting for, the moment when the truth finally comes out. Let me take you back to my childhood. I grew up in a small town, in a house that looked perfect from the outside. Our home was a large Victorian with a well-manicured garden, and there was always a porch swing and a neatly painted picket fence. My father, Mr. Thompson, was a respected banker in town. He was on the board of the local community center and was known for his generosity at church events. People saw him as a pillar of the community. My mother, Mrs. Thompson, was the kind of woman who always had a smile on her face and a plate of cookies for the neighbors. She was involved in the local book club and always dressed immaculately. Everyone in town thought she was the perfect wife and mother. And then there was me, the quiet girl in the corner, always trying to stay out of the way. I was 12 when I first realized that my family was not what it seemed. One evening, I forgot to put away the groceries. I was doing my homework at the kitchen table, and my father came home from work. He didn't shout or raise his voice. He just looked at me with those cold, steely eyes and said, "Go to your room." I knew what was coming. That night, I had bruises on my arms, and the next morning, my mother came into my room. She sat on the edge of my bed and whispered, "You know how to make him angry. Why do you keep doing it?" For years, I believed her. I thought I was the problem. I tried to be perfect, to do everything right, but it never seemed to be enough. Every time my father hit me, my mother would say the same thing. She would make up excuses for him, telling the doctor at the emergency room that I was just clumsy when I went in with injuries. At 16, I got a part-time job at the local diner. I didn't ask my father's permission. I just knew I needed to save some money and have a way out. My father found out about my job, and he was furious. He said that a girl like me didn't need to work, that it was embarrassing for him. He took all the money I had saved and told me that it belonged to the family. I started hiding money in the attic, under an old box. I was planning to leave as soon as I could. When I was 18, I got accepted into a nursing program at a nearby college. I applied secretly, using the school library computer, and had the acceptance letter sent to a post office box. But my father found out. He opened the letter at the dinner table and tore it up in front of everyone. I left on my 18th birthday. My father was at work, and my mother was in the kitchen. I packed my bags and walked out the door. My mother didn't say a word as I left. She just stood there, washing the same dish over and over again. For 6 months, I didn't hear from my family. I was living in a small apartment, working hard at school and at the diner. Then one night, my mother called. She was crying, and she told me that my father had started hitting my younger brother, Jake. She said she was wrong, that she should have done something years ago. She sent me an audio recording of my father yelling at Jake and hitting him. I knew I had to do something. I called a legal aid office and started gathering evidence. I went to the hospital where I had been taken several times as a child and requested my medical records. The woman at the hospital, an old lady named Mrs. Harris, remembered me. She helped me get the records quickly. My father was nominated for the Man of the Year at the church. He invited me to the ceremony, thinking he could show the town that our family was back together. But I had a different plan. I decided to expose the truth in front of everyone. I called my mother and told her what I was going to do. At first, she was scared. She said she couldn't face my father. But I told her that she had to be there, that it was time for her to stand up. In the end, she agreed. On the day of the ceremony, I walked into the fellowship hall. My father greeted me with a fake smile, and the crowd clapped as I entered. When it was time for my father to give his speech, he called me up on stage. I stood next to him, and then I took the microphone. I told the crowd about the abuse I had suffered as a child, about the lies my parents had told the doctors. I showed them my medical records, which clearly showed that my injuries were not accidental. Then, I played the audio recording of my father hitting my brother. The room was silent. My father tried to deny everything, but it was too late. My grandmother, who had always suspected something, stood up and told the crowd about the time she saw my bruises when I was a child and how she had called Child Protective Services, but nothing had been done. My brother, Jake, stood up and said that I was telling the truth. And then, my mother stood up and said, I was silent too long. She's right. In the end, my father lost his position at the bank and his standing in the community. The church removed him from the board. My brother and I got a restraining order against him, and he had to move out of the house. My mother is now in therapy, and she's trying to make up for all the years of silence. Jake is doing well at school, and I'm still working towards my nursing degree. I know that it will take time for our family to heal, but at least the truth is out. I'm sharing this story because I want others to know that they're not alone. If you're in a situation where someone is hurting you, don't stay silent. There is always a way out.